Oh, question. What about Okay, good. So, hi everyone. We're going to edit all of this out. Maybe, you know what, let's not edit anything out because that's what this life is about, real life circumstances. Welcome everyone to Reality, Spirituality, the Importance of Happiness, the Truth About Happiness. I'm your host, Rebecca Lynn Norrington. I want to thank you for being patient. Thank you. We are live after 3 hours of sitting in this chair. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome you to the show. This YouTube channel is here for a reason. What I talk about and what I like to discuss is everyday issues, everyday challenges, everyday moments, and how to experience more happiness. When I ask people do you want to be happier? Everybody raises their hand. Everybody, of course, everyone wants to be happier. But the key is, the secret is, the truth is, this being happy, this feeling of contentment, this feeling of peace is more than just a notion. It is not about, oh, I just want to be happy. It is actually a process. And I had to start with unlearning everything that I learned about happiness, unlearning everything that I was taught about life, about relationships, about the journey, the truth about the journey. And this is the truth. The truth is, there's only one person that is responsible, that has the power to either assist you in creating more or experiencing more happiness or not. And that person, the good news is that person is you. That person is the person that is in the mirror. It's you. And today we're going to talk about relationships because I don't know about you, but I've had several relationships, and I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about relationships with parents, with children, with coworkers, with friends, with relatives, with strangers on the street. It is about how to maintain and sustain a peaceful relationship, regardless of what's going on, regardless of what's happening. And that's what today's show is about, relationships and how to maintain peace in all of your relationships, which is more than a notion. I said that already, didn't I? So this life is really about changing and growing and being a different person, being different than who you were yesterday, and really practicing perspectives, changing and being able to pick and choose what perspective you want to take depending on the situation. Let me be more specific. When is the last time something really bothered you? Something, let's just use labels for a minute. Something that was really so huge in your life that it took you, that it threw you into a space of, let me give you a perfect example. A close friend of mine was having financial difficulties, and he and his wife and his number one child was forced to move out of his home. Remember a few years ago when there was a problem with interest rates, and homeowners were actually having to leave their houses and abandon their houses, and that's what happened to him. He lost a home that he had been living in over 10 years. So here he was with a wife and a child, losing his home, being forced to move into an apartment. Now I'm smiling only because it's just one example of what life throws at us. I'm not immune to it. You're not immune to what we call life's challenges or life circumstances. So this young man and his family were forced to move and live in an apartment. again, after over 10 years of living in a house. And so living in this apartment, not only did he lose his house, and not only did his credit was ruined, quote unquote ruined, now he's forced to live in an apartment with 2 rooms, 2 bedrooms, and 1 bathroom. And before, he had a home with 3 bathrooms, huge yard, kitchen. Everybody had their own bed. Well, not everybody had their own bedroom, but he had 2 bedrooms, a den. And so now he's in an apartment with 1 bathroom that he's sharing with his wife and his daughter. After maybe a year or 2 years, yes, I said a year or 2 years, his perspective started to change about the move. In other words, he began thinking it wasn't about, wow, this is such a tragedy in my life now that I'm forced to move. My credit is ruined. I'm living in this small space. He began looking at the same situation. Nothing changed. He still lost his house. His credit is still ruined. He's still in an apartment, but he began looking at the same circumstances with different eyes. His daughter is a teenager, and I don't know about you, but sharing a bathroom with anyone, especially a teenager, would be a little challenging. And now he's a man, and he's sharing it with a teenage daughter. Why is he sharing a bathroom? Because like I said, the family only has 1 bathroom, and the wife does not want to share the bathroom with either one of them. So in the morning, there's a rush for time, as you would imagine. There's a rush for getting ready. And so he's telling me this story about him shaving and his daughter brushing his teeth in the bathroom. And they're having this conflict back and forth, running out of space, bumping into each other, little tit for little arguing, of course, little, hey, you use the toothpaste, don't use the toothpaste. No, put the top on the toothpaste. All of this stuff that could happen when you're that close. And my friend started telling me that he never thought about it before, but he's enjoying having this time and having this space and having this back and forth interaction with his teenage daughter that he never would have had if he still had his home. He started talking to me and sharing with me the moments that, are little, hey, get out of my space, leave me alone. He started to really cherish those times, thinking that he never would have chosen to share a bathroom with a teenager, but life circumstances put him into that situation, and now he's just looking at it with different eyes. He's looking at it with appreciation. He's looking at his life with now having fond memories as opposed to remembering how it used to be. And that's just one way of practicing. Now, when you really get down to how to create and how to maintain a peaceful relationship, it gets a little tricky. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Raise your hand if you have these people in your life. Husband, no, not me. Wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, child, relatives, co-workers, any of the boss, any of those people in your life. And how and are the relationships, how are the interactions? Are they all peaceful? Are they sometimes a little bit confrontational? Sometimes could be argumentative. Sometimes you disagree. Sometimes there is little, I said that, conflict. Is it possible to have peace in all of your relationships all of the time? Let me ask that question again. Is it possible for you to be in any relationship, no matter what the label is, and maintain a sense of peace all of the time? Well, I don't know about you, but my relationships in the past were always up and down and up and down and up and down. And why? Well, because the most important relationship in your life, in my life, in anyone's life, is the relationship that you have with yourself, is the relationship that you have with that person in the mirror. And for me, when I'm feeling like this, up and down with myself, it is going to be impossible for me to have any kind of peace or any kind of calm interaction with anyone else. I used to blame people. I used to blame my significant other or blame a husband or blame a boyfriend for why I felt the way I was feeling. I used to blame other people for their participation, or not their participation, but for their contribution to my emotions, for their, in other words, they were the reasons why I was behaving or feeling the way I was feeling. And I'm here to tell you that that is never the truth. The reason why I can't be peaceful or can't have a relationship with somebody that is always calm is because there's turmoil going on inside of me. Hard to admit, but it is the truth. So the relationship that you have with yourself is the most important. Now, remember, it's not really mandatory for you to be honest with anyone else but you. You, when you're honest with yourself, you are able to make shifts, you are able to make adjustments with any relationship that you're in. Let me give you another example. There is a young man at the office that I work my 9 to 5 during the day. And for some reason, I don't even know when it started. I'm actually in a new section, in a new area. So there's a lot of new people to get to know. And there's this one gentleman that sometimes he speaks, sometimes he doesn't. And now for the last couple of months, he stopped speaking. And when he sees me, he's like he ignores or is just not interested in speaking. And I let it go, and he didn't speak. How about this one? He didn't speak to me, so I'm not going to speak to him. It was a tit for tat, so I'm not speaking to him. And then I got to a point where I didn't like that. I didn't like that setup. I didn't like seeing somebody in the hall and not acknowledging them or not speaking to them, or at least saying hello. So I decided to change it. He was the same person, but I needed to have that energy shift. And so what I did was, the next time I saw him, hi. Just a quick hello. And of course he was startled, because for months we haven't even spoken. But he said hello back. And so that little change in my behavior, remember, the other people don't have to do anything. You're the one with all the power. You're the one that is able to create whatever type of dynamic you want in any relationship. I don't care who the other person is, or how they used to treat you, or what they used to say. You still can have a peaceful relationship with anyone. So now the gentleman speaks to me, I speak to him, but it was all because I made the gesture, and I made the gesture first. So when you are really committed, and you're interested, and you really want to be happier, and you want to have that peace, and you want to have relationships that flow, you can do that. But you have to do it. And there's something else. You're going to have to give up. So you're going to have to give up something. And what you give up is, you give up wanting to be right. You give up needing to share your opinion. You give up judging. You give up your pride. You give up your ego. You give up, you have to give up everything that is going to interfere or everything that is going to subtract from the peace or from the happiness that you are trying to create in the relationship. Let me get a little bit more specific. I took notes because one of my really big breakthroughs was the breakthrough I had with my mother. When I got older meaning when I was in my 30s, 40s, I began looking at the relationship with my mother and my father differently than when I was younger. And the relationship with my mother and father was always back and forth, especially when they got older. They would argue about the smallest things. They would argue about anything. Commercial on television, they would have some kind of problem with. In other words, they would never agree with each other. And there was always some kind of angst, conflict, argument, disagreement. And I used to look at both of them and find fault or find reason. Well, the reason why my mother doesn't get along with my father is because my father isn't fill in the blank, behaving like this, or this. Or the reason why my father doesn't get along with my mother is because my mother doesn't A, B, or C. But I'm here to say that none of that was true. Remember, this life is all about unlearning what I thought was the truth, what I thought was real, what I thought was the reason why they weren't getting along. And what I discovered after years and years of finding fault and finding a reason why they didn't get along, or my 2 cents of why I thought they didn't get along, I found out that they both enjoyed the dynamic. They both enjoyed the drama. They both enjoyed the back and forth. They both enjoyed arguing. They both enjoyed it, or else they wouldn't do it. So that's number one. You have to really sit back and take notice, because there are people that enjoy the drama. There are people that don't mind the conflict, the back and forth. And that's the conclusion that I came to with my parents. They argued all the way up until my father's passing, because that was their dynamic and that's what they liked doing. But if you really want peace in any relationship, it's going to be up to you to do something about it. Let me get more specific, even more specific. The conflicts that I had with my mother were all because of I had expectations, and I labeled what a mother meant to me, what I thought a mother should be doing, or what I thought a mother was supposed to be. And I actually put a lot of responsibility and put a lot of responsibility on my mother to behave in a certain way where, quite frankly, she wasn't able to. Let me just say, I thought that a mother's job was supposed to be, she was supposed to protect me. She was supposed to be accepting. She was supposed to not criticize. She was supposed to love me regardless of what I did or regardless of what I didn't do. She was supposed to support me. And all of those things were in my head. I had an idea, a picture of what a great mother, a perfect mother was supposed to look like. Well, I was really disappointed for a long time, because I was expecting a person to behave the way that I wanted them to behave. I put a label of mother on her, and because of that label, I expected her to behave in a certain way. Let's go back to marriage. I put a label of husband on the person that I married, and I expected him to behave a certain way. So number one, anytime you put a label on someone, that means you're going to have an expectation of their behavior. And I'm here to tell you that every time you expect a person to behave in a certain way just because they have the label of husband or wife or best friend or boyfriend or girlfriend or boss or coworker, because they're my boss, they're supposed to behave in a certain way. Well, all of those things are just a setup for disappointment. All of those things are just a guarantee that there is not going to be any peace if you're expecting another person to behave in a way that you think is proper or you think is appropriate. The only way that you are going to have a peaceful relationship in any relationship that you define, any relationship that you're focusing on, is that you have to be totally accepting of the other person. There has to be a total acceptance of who that person is without you wanting them to be any different than who they are. Acceptance. And again, the acceptance starts with you. When I didn't accept another person, my mother, my girlfriend, my ex-husband, when I didn't accept them for who they were and their and their limitations and also their greatness, when I looked at their limitations and I wanted them to be different, or I wanted them to grow, or I wanted them to be, this is a real killer, more like me, there was never any peace. When I accepted, all of a sudden, peace naturally began to infiltrate the relationship. In other words, acceptance is also hand in hand with peace. When you prioritize wanting peace more than anything else, the drama in your relationships will start to get smaller and smaller, and quite frankly, eventually, there won't be any drama. There won't be any drama because there won't be any drama that you bring into the relationship. Now, let me say this. Sometimes I find that my relationships that were used to me arguing, or used to me having confrontation, or used to me going back and forth with them, and now that I don't, there's a little bit of unrest. There's a little bit of uncomfortableness, because sometimes when you're used to being in that drama, or you're used to having the conflicts and you don't have any, and you're not, in other words, you're not fighting back, being peaceful and having a peaceful relationship for some is uncomfortable. I remember my mother just arguing with my father because that was a way for her to get his reaction. This wanting a peaceful relationship with anyone that you come in contact with is not only rare, it's not taught, it's not spoken, it's not the norm. So what I suggest is that when you decide, when you prioritize wanting to be happier, and you have given up needing to be right, needing to be heard, needing to be acknowledged, needing to be appreciated, needing anything from anyone else, having any kind of agenda from anyone else, that is the beginning. That is going to be the start of a peaceful dynamic, a peaceful relationship. My problems when I realize that there is an agenda, that I have something that I want from a relationship, something that I need from somebody else. I need them to act a certain way, or I need them to do a certain thing, or I need them to tell me something. You haven't told me you love me. You didn't tell me. When I need or I have an agenda from someone else, then I guarantee you the relationship is not going to be peaceful. When my only agenda is to accept and want peace from that person, that is the only way that I was able to maintain peaceful relationships. Let me just check. Relationships for me, what I've discovered is that they're really all gifts. Everything, anytime I have a conflict with someone, let me just give you a real live example. There's a woman that I'm working with now, and her personality, her energy in the real world, when I say the real world, in my real life as opposed to my professional life, is totally the opposite of mine. She's a talker, constantly talking, not a listener. And the constant chatter is not compatible with me not talking. So what I've discovered is that any relationship that the universe brings to me, or that the world is bringing to me, there's a reason for it. Now, I have the job, or I have the responsibility of, how do I create peace, or how do I maintain this acceptance of this person who is totally different than me, who is totally incompatible with who I am. That is the challenge that I'm having now. And I have to go back to my own notes and my own practice. Again, you can want to be happy. You can say you want happiness, but it's the practice. It's the daily practice in every moment about these people being negative or incompatible, or talkers when you're more quiet, or people that are judgmental, or people that are opinionated. All these people are just like who I used to be. And what I found is I get thrown, in other words, people get thrown. Let's see, what do I want to say? Now is a good time to edit. Let me think for a second. The people that are introduced into my life are there to teach me something about me. I don't care what they look like, meaning what their energy looks like. I don't care what the dynamic is. They are there to teach me how to find a way to be peaceful. Peaceful with negativity? Is that possible? Yes. Peaceful with somebody that's judgmental? Is that possible? Yes. Peaceful with somebody that likes to always talk about other people? Is it possible? Yes. How? Acceptance and allowing these people to be who they are, allowing these people to learn and get their lessons any way that they need to. Now, we talked about relationships, and I want to ask you this question before I sign out. It seems that when I was younger, it seems that all I wanted was to achieve. All I wanted was to have and get and accomplish and achieve and do and get to another place of a higher place of where I am now. And what I've learned in these years of chasing this dream or goals, what I've learned is, for me, the most important is not really achieving. The most important for me is growing as a person, growing as an individual, being something different than yesterday than I was today. What? Being someone different than I was yesterday than I am today. It is accomplishing, it's looking forward to having peace with that person in my life that I might necessarily don't agree with or not compatible with. That is the excitement. That is that is the goal now. How do we expand? Let me wrap this up because I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. I want you to remember whatever is going on in your life right now in this moment, and whatever relationships you are in right now this moment, is really a reflection of how you can grow and how you can expand. And so let's give a little thank you to all the people that we have our challenges with. Because if we didn't have these challenges, if we just got along with everyone, and we weren't, if we just got along with everybody and everything was peaceful, then what is there here to practice? Exactly. I wish I could just push the stop button on this right now, but I can't. I want to make a few announcements. My website, you can find me on Facebook at Reality Spirituality. And my website is RebeccaNorrington.com. That's RebeccaNorrington.com. And Twitter, you could follow me on Twitter at RL Norrington. I have a live radio show tomorrow. It's going to be on Blog Talk Radio. That's blog, B-L-O-G, talkradio.com. It's Reality Spirituality. Every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can call in and speak to me and ask questions about your relationships, your challenges in your life. It's a live show, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, the number to call in for that live show is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. I want to leave you with this. This life is really about the journey, the ongoing journey. Relationships are a clue. Relationships are a key. They give you an idea of where you are in your life, where you are in your growth. Really embrace all of it and accept and allow everything to just flow, and ask, why is this person here? What do I need to learn? How do I need to grow from this? How can I grow from this? And when you really look at life and expand your perspective, and when your priority changes and your foundation is really peace and contentment and happiness, it won't matter what life throws at you. It won't matter what circumstances you're under. It won't matter what you are faced with, because your foundation is still that place of peace. And so you can be surrounded by a storm. You could be surrounded by life's storms, and you can still maintain the energy of peace. And with that, I'm signing out. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality, the truth about happiness, the importance of happiness. I'm your host, Rebecca Lynn Norrington. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Signing out. Big smile here.